Hi, good morning. It's Jim from the Mavstar Observatory. Guys, pole shift news and all the talk and topic will continue in a few days' time. Don't worry, we'll be pulling the SD cards out of the TriMag and the magnetosphere sensor and doing the norm. But at the moment, I think it's important to keep talking about one of those things that we've hit in our obstacle course on that gauntlet that I talk about a lot. Before I do, big thanks to Susan yesterday in San Francisco. You know you are one of our great supporters of the observatory, and I just want to briefly mention that this is a public observatory. It's funded by you guys, and we don't take corporate funding from anyone. So bear that in mind. We need to be supported in order to do what we do, and of course on topics like this, we bring you the latest. So you may have already seen news of what's happening in Italy. 1/4 of the country is on lockdown, and as a result of that, they've just swept aside everybody's human rights. They are telling people they can't go to pubs, restaurants, bingo. He even mentioned bingo. I don't even know how many people in Italy go to bingo, but that was a bit of a shock. But they've also put a ban on people going to religious meetings. So nearly every tick on the human rights has been crossed over, and on top of that, Italy has just seen its stock market drop by 10%. Just to put things in perspective, guys, half the world's wealth is expected to be damaged by the coronavirus. How many trillions is that? That means that our property value could be halved in the next few months. It means for a lot of people, when they're told that there's no schools open, that means, if most modern families, both the male and female go to work, one of them has got to probably take care of the kids or find a nanny to do that for them, which is going to incur extra costs. All of which, these governments have not said we're going to cover the costs for, we're going to protect you. They've not said that whilst you quarantine yourself when you've got coronavirus, we will support you financially. So you know what's going to happen, don't you? Nobody's going to quarantine themselves, and this is going to spread and spread and spread. You can't put coronavirus back in the box now. It's out. That's it. We are dealing with a biological catastrophe in, no shorter term. It is a biological catastrophe, and you've seen how fast it's spread across the world. And just looking at the UK, at how many regions it's covered right now, you couldn't be planning a strategic strike any more better than what has happened already. It is everywhere, in every major city, and at the moment they are reporting here in the UK 273 cases. I can guarantee you there is thousands of cases where people have not been confirmed that they have it, and they are walking around, and they're going to continue to walk around whether they know they've got it or not, like we've seen in the US with that nurse that was sent home, and then the very next day she's in a conference meeting, spreading the coronavirus to everybody, and she should know better. And you've probably seen that story covered a little bit more in detail by Diamond on the Open Hammer Ranch project. But this is what we're facing, guys. Half the world's wealth is going to get wiped out, and the governments aren't going to step up and support you. And at the same time, they're going to infringe on your human rights. And in America, it'll be, the constitutional rights that they infringe when they lock you up in your own homes, expect you to, feed yourselves, when at the same time they're saying don't panic buy. What we've seen here in the UK, we're 2 weeks away from Armageddon. I'm not joking. We have seen already people fighting in Costco's over toilet paper. It's ridiculous. I am shocked at the level of intelligence that some of these people are showing right now. Toilet paper. Saying, okay, have your toilet paper, and let's see how you get on after 3 days of not having no food. It's going to get worse. Jaguar Land Rover, probably one of the biggest car manufacturers in the UK, is going to halt the production line in a matter of days because they haven't got the components to continue manufacturing cars. What is it going to cost? Everyone's country. At the moment here in the UK, we do still have time. You guys, if you're here in the UK, still have time to go and get some stuff. If you're waiting until you actually see people stripping the shops clean of everything edible, it's going to be too late for you. You've got about 2 weeks. Take that into consideration. At least 2 weeks. And then what has happened in Italy is very likely going to be happening in the UK. It's going to be happening in the United States and in all the other countries that we mentioned yesterday, like Canada, New Zealand, Australia. It's going to affect every country and every state within that country, every town, every village. Eventually, it's coming full circle back to your front door, guys. And as I said yesterday in the video, we've seen it mutate once already after infecting just over 100,000 people. So, do the maths. 7 billion people, how many mutations we got to have? How many chances has that virus got to mutate into something absolutely lethal? People might be saying, oh, this is just fear porn. Fine. If you think it's fear porn, what I'm trying to do is give you a head start of the game, literally. And when I said the other day, I've even took it upon myself to buy an NBC suit, nuclear biological warfare suit, and respirator, because it ain't going to be no good to you if you're walking around like these people that you can see there with that little stupid mask and a pair of sunglasses. If you think that that's going to protect you against coronavirus, then you're very wrong. And more importantly, when this thing mutates into something really aggressive, you need to take a little bit more precautions. And listen, you can't stay in your house forever. This thing can even stay on the surfaces until it meets a new host for over a week or so. So, we're not going to see anything like China, going back to work in the next 3 months, 4 months, because what's happened in China is just started. It hasn't reached equilibrium. Remember, I always talk about equilibrium. Once we see the halfway point, we know things are going to start to slowly get better from that point on. We're nowhere near equilibrium. 7 billion people on this planet, and the majority of those will be infected. 98% of the people on this planet are going to go down with coronavirus, and we're going to lose a hell of a lot of people aged 70 and over. And we've just had, I think, a 60-year-old dying here in the UK, but they have said he had a low immune system. So we're going to start seeing a lot more death rates. And some people are obviously putting this out. Oh, it's no worse than what we see already with the common cold. This coronavirus isn't nothing like the common cold. You don't see a common cold spread throughout the world in 2 months in every country. This is something different. This is a killer. Remember that. It could be your grandparents, my grandparents. This is what we're facing. Don't take this lightly. This is going to affect everything and everyone. And I'm hearing the talks already from the shop owners to the restaurant owners. They are expecting this to slap them hard. And what have we seen the governments do? The government said, don't panic. Don't panic buy. And have we heard, anything from the government saying that, during these times we have got measures in place where we can keep the system running? No. What they've said is we're liaising with the shops and the supermarkets in order to keep the food chain going. Really? Well, people are going to lose their houses. People are going to get their houses repossessed. You haven't heard the government say that there's going to be protection for these people during this crisis. You've had nothing from the government. They failed to stop it getting into all these countries. It's been a massive failure on China's behalf as far as I'm concerned, because this is where it started. It wasn't contained. It's been allowed to travel all around the world. And as a result of it, every one of us are probably going to lose half of our wealth. People yet that aren't even aware of it are going to lose probably the property over this. They're going to lose everything that they've worked years and years for, and in some cases people are going to lose their life. That's the reality of what is happening right now and what is about to happen in, our local districts and communities, villages and towns and cities. Half the world's wealth, that means half the money in your pocket is going to go. Along with it is going to be a lot of factories, a lot of manufacturing companies, a lot of shops. There is no compensation whatsoever on offer for what is about to come. The governments are just telling you to go and lock yourself up in your house and quarantine yourself. You know what? You can't quarantine yourself for 5 years. You can't even quarantine yourself for 6 months. It's really difficult without having to go out for something or other. And what we've got at the moment can't be replaced overnight. China's going to realise very shortly that it will completely destroy its own economics of its country in the next few months by having this lockdown. And very shortly they're going to be telling people to get out, back to work, and get the country back up on its feet and running again. You cannot put that back when you have lost skill sets that people have. Some people won't want to go back into the factory because they're frightened to get the corona disease. They'll be more vulnerable than others. Some people will willingly go back to work. But what we're seeing right now is a shutdown of the entire world's economy. This is unprecedented, guys, and that's why I'm talking about it, because you've just got to put a little bit of thought into it and realise that even though the virus is survivable for the majority of people that get it, it's this lockdown and the behaviour of the governments which is going to destroy half the world's wealth, and in turn half of the people's wealth, your wealth. So like I say, if you're here in the UK, in the United States, Canada, Australia, other parts of Europe, and you're watching this right now, my advice to you is understand two things. Very shortly there is going to be a run on the shops, if there isn't already in wherever you live in, and they are going to strip them shops clean of food. The Baltic Dry Index might be something you might want to have a look at, because that shows you exactly how much shipping is taking place. And remember, without containers arriving in dockyards and ports, there is no produce that will be arriving in those warehouses, and then after that in the shops where you buy. The devastation and the economic effect and the loss of life is going to be something unprecedented that we have not seen before, and right now a lot of people aren't aware of what is going on, because if there was, there'd be a lot more action taken. Guys, I just want to say this: you don't want to be at the end of the queue either in securing some decent protective equipment for yourselves, like a biological suit and a full face respirator. If you've not noticed already on eBay, these things are soaring in price. It's only going to be the real protection that you can get hold of, something that has been tried and tested, like a military overall and respirator. And right now, over the last week, I've seen the prices triple on eBay. You can still get them, but the prices are going to continue to go up. So I'm just saying, don't be the last one, because there isn't millions of these things out there. Your governments are not going to bring you these things to your door and say, there you go, it's all free. The government ain't going to give you no help at all. They're not bringing you food. They're not going to be giving you benefits. They're not going to protect you from the loss of your property. There will be some people at the moment that are going to profiteer a lot from this, and we're going to see it start. So here's a prediction I'm going to make. At the moment, there is, by the government, the British government, let me see if I can show you, By the British government admittance, there are, as you can see, 273 cases confirmed, and we know that 3 of those people have died. But what's that? A little over 2%, 2.5% of the people that have got it so far in the UK have died from it. Okay, some of them were elderly, a couple of them were elderly, one of them had an immune problem, but those numbers are going to be in the thousands right now, and the government aren't going to tell you. Already there's probably 2,000 or 3,000 people walking around in the UK with coronavirus, spreading it from one person to the next, and they don't even know they've got it yet, because the symptoms may not have been they may not know it, because simply they haven't got the symptoms yet. But it doesn't mean that they're not contagious and spreading it. But what I will say is the confirmed amounts by next week will be in the thousands. The week after that, probably tens of thousands. That's how this thing escalates. And like I say, probably 93% of us here in the UK and the rest of the world are going to get we're going to get this COVID-19. And we are going to see also in the coming weeks mutate more times. So heads up, guys. Don't panic, but don't do nothing about it. Actively think about what you need to do. Get together with your families. Start talking about this. Start showing them things that are already being leaked out on YouTube and on social media sites. The true implications are very, very serious. So, with that, I'll just mention that there is a link down there. You can support our observatory. We'll keep you informed as much as we can on this, but also our main topic is the magnetic pole reversal, the dwindling magnetosphere and climate, which affects, crops and in turn affects ourselves. So, we are now in a gauntlet where we have more than one active obstacle to avoid, and this one, COVID-19, is a very serious one. It's going to affect us all short term, and then on top of that, we've got the effects of a dramatic climate change taking place. So heads up, guys. Links down there. I'll say what I usually do. You take care, as always. Bye for now.